Welcome back to Fast Money. One of Wall Street's most successful hedge fund managers sending a giant shockwave across the cryptocurrency market today. Paul Tudor Jones reportedly buying Bitcoin as a hedge against inflation. Jones comparing the cryptocurrency to the gold trade back in the 1970s, calling it the fastest horse in this environment. Let's break this bombshell down with our own Bitcoin baller, Brian Kelly. BK, I know crypto Twitter was just on fire today with this.
More so than ever. Crypto Twitter is a funny place, but yeah, I mean, certainly having somebody of Paul Tudor Jones' pedigree and caliber come in and kind of put their stamp of approval on this asset class got everybody really excited.
When making the comparison to gold back in the 1970s, I mean, if you followed the evolution of gold, and Guy probably knows this better than I do, but at one point in time, you're buying gold and the ETF didn't exist. When the ETF existed, it became much more accessible to a lot of different investors, and it sort of it democratized it and also took away that sort of bang for your buck when it comes to the movement of gold because there wasn't scarcity involved with it. Can you see the same thing happening with Bitcoin, especially as there's talks about ETFs as this continues to go mainstream? I mean, if this is truly sort of a flag being planted in mainstream investment, the next step could, in fact, be ETFs.
I mean, it could be. We haven't seen it yet. I think we're a long way away from an ETF based on what the SEC has said. So at this point in time, it's much more of an institutional, well, actually retail can get into it fairly easily, but you're buying the spot market. And I think when you look back at the gold market in the 70s, that's when gold was no longer pegged, right? So that was kind of the first real market, speculative market that you had. And that's a lot like what Bitcoin is right now. You didn't have all the derivatives, you didn't have the options, you didn't have the ETFs that might tamp down that volatility. That's the same case here in Bitcoin. And when you look at Bitcoin, at least when I look at Bitcoin on a risk-reward basis, let's say you buy gold on the idea that inflation is coming and it doubles, you're going to be happy. Nobody's going to be upset at a double in an investment. But if you look at the volatility of Bitcoin, where it's gone and where it could go, a 5 or 10x in Bitcoin would not be inconceivable in this environment.
Brian, big fan of your work. A lot of people think the gold Bitcoin is binary. You have to own one or the other. They both can't work. Do you think in this environment both can do well?
Sure, it's the same thesis. It's the idea that you have, you need a capped security or a capped supply. And so whether it's gold or whether it's Bitcoin, I happen to think Bitcoin has a much higher upside, a better risk to reward, but the thesis is very similar. The only other thing I would say about Bitcoin is that's different than gold, it's a lot more mobile, right? We've seen the issues we've had over the last weeks where gold prices disengaged from futures, spot gold, because they couldn't get gold bars from London to New York to settle. You don't have that issue with Bitcoin. This is internet money. You just send it right over and settle it. So in that sense, I think Bitcoin has a bigger role to play in this environment than gold does.
All right. BK, great to see you. Brian Kelly, our own Bitcoin baller. Karen, I'm curious, when somebody like a Paul Tudor Jones says that he's buying cryptocurrency, do you think that sort of paves the way for other hedge fund managers in the mainstream to do the same?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it does. It's sort of, nobody wants to get sort of outed having owned Bitcoin if it completely falls apart. But if you can say, you know, Paul Tudor Jones owned it also, maybe that gives you a little bit of cover. I believe, I mean, I think that Mike Novogratz had said it a few weeks ago. I really believe if this isn't the environment for Bitcoin to work, with this kind of just money printing all around the world, then I don't know what is. So we'll see if inflation ever ticks up. I'm optimistic that Bitcoin will go up as well.